beautiful. And what I want to know is, what is really, really, really good in your life today? I'm Kia, and this is the next episode of the Female Veterans Podcast. Today, I have the sweetest girl with me ever. She is absolutely delightful to be around. She is a combat veteran. She was a medic. And she is an outspoken advocate for alternative therapies for PTSD sufferers. And I can't wait to find out what she's been up to and what information she can give us to help us improve on the quality of our lives. So thank you, Lauren, for coming and being a part of my podcast.
Oh, thanks for to be here.
Awesome. So I have my very first question for you is, why did you join the military?
I think I joined the military because for as long as I can remember, I kind of wanted to be a soldier, but then I also kind of wanted to do something in church or just something that helped people. Mm-hmm. And I know it's weird to think that I wanted to join the military to help people, but that's exactly why I wanted to join.
Right on.
And I just always seen my dad or my stepdad he was in the Marines. So I had that to look up to growing up too. And it just landed me there.
Like a legacy.
Yeah.
So what was boot camp like for you?
I loved boot camp. I thought of it as like a summer camp. And I know that sounds silly, but it was like they're paying you to work out and they're yelling at you, making you work out every day, all day. And that's the way I thought about it. But it was weird. And it still was definitely like a shock. At one point, like my drill instructors would comment on the way I walked, because I guess I walked too feminine. Mm-hmm. I just remember right there at that point was where I started being really cognizant of the way I carried myself and the way I walked and the way people viewed me. So because I'd listened to your other podcast actually, and I kept thinking about how this question, but that was I think a moment where I kind of definitely steered me structurally differently after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed boot camp. I don't have too many bad memories about it. I didn't cough too much during the gas chamber. I don't know. I think I smoked too much pot prior to going in.
That's funny. How did you get in having smoked pot prior?
I remember going to, so I passed the UAs because it's not hard to pass a UA. Drink lots of water, everyone.
Tips.
And even at 17, 18 years old, I understood drink water and you will be fine. But would then become the literal slogan of my life in the future.
That's like the slogan of my life right now too, with one kidney. Drink water and you will be fine.
Absolutely. Lots of water. It's good for you. But I remember sitting at MEPS, on my way to boot camp, and some kids were talking about stuff, and I was like, blah, 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 smoking pot. And they were like, oh my gosh, you can't say that here. And I was like, it's not illegal for me to have smoked pot and joined the military. There's nothing anyone can do to come at me right now. And all the people around me were like, oh, it's kind of true. I never thought of it like that. I'm like, what are they going to do to you? So I was always very, very, very outspoken about my alternative therapies that I preferred.
Right on. What branch did you go in? When you were Army?
Yes, I went into the Army. I went into the reserves, and then I ended up switching over to the National Guard. And then I was in the Guard for a little while, in which I stayed in the Guard. But initially, I got married, and I moved to Minnesota to be with the guy I met at boot camp. I should throw that out there.
You did make a friend in boot camp. You married him.
So I don't have really terrible memories of the place. But
I bet it was good for you.
It was. And So I ended up going to like Minnesota, Wisconsin area, becoming a Red Bull. And I ended up working on ADOS orders, however many different acronyms it's been under. It's just active duty orders for the National Guard. And I started helping train people before they deployed. And then I ended up getting divorced or getting separated with my now ex-husband. And I was like, I didn't join the Army to just like sit here and help people or teach people how to do stuff. Like I helped with CLS courses, and we helped with a few like EMT or refresher courses at the Regional Training Institute for the state of Minnesota. And I was just kind of done teaching people how to do something I've never done. And so plus I'm like separated from my ex, and now I'm like, I just need to get out of here and be a soldier. Like I'm not doing enough. So I volunteered and I went to Iraq, and that was my like first taste of war over the years. And then I was there for a deployment, and then I volunteered for another deployment. So I did another half a deployment in Iraq. And then I came home.
So what was Iraq like?
Okay. It is hot. Like if you put a pan of boiling water in the oven, and you let it boil and you get it steamy in there, and you open that up, that's what Iraq feels like. Oh yeah. Very hot. And we were in Basra, so it was very humid down there too. So it was like being in like the South, but the desert. It was,
oh my God.
It was extra.
Yeah. That sounds like an extremely extra climate. Cause I'm trying to think of like, I lived for a while in Arizona and I lived for a while in Miami. And if you fuse those together, that feels like extra, extra, extra.
I think about like the effect that, along with, the other environmental concerns around the areas, have effects on our bodies. Like you're working extreme condition, which people live there and do that, but these people are acclimated to this throughout their entire lives. We're wearing layers and layers of clothing, equipment, body armor. We're doing stuff that, your bodies shouldn't be doing. And temperatures where they should be relaxed in, drinking probably less toxic water, and breathing way less toxic air. But I always thought about that, how the environment really must have had such an impact on all of our little bodies.
Oh, I can just imagine. Now, were there burn pits going on when you were there?
I remember like seeing stuff like out in the distance, but we were on the airfield, so we were kind of set off from all the like giant garbage pits that I had seen around. Like I had gone out in Basra like once or twice into the actual city. And I mean, there was definitely a whole lot more burning and garbage oil pits around out there. But I think that a lot of people don't realize that that's like surrounding them. So like whether they saw them or not, like I ended up on the QRF team, so I would see all this stuff out there. But all the people sitting on base are inhaling all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So because it wasn't like within view of the base, I just only imagine if it's surrounding you like a giant biosphere.
My God. And imagine what that's doing to like further climate change. Right?
Yes. I watched like little mothers like ladling water out of these like garbage pits. It changed my gut. Like it broke my heart. And I really started focusing on all the problems because I started getting like immediate physical symptoms right away. I had hives all over my body for 9 straight months. I had welts on the backs of my legs. And this is all like documented. So I love that I was working in the clinic and getting to like do patrols. Like I got to do a lot of both, but I also got to document a lot of my stuff because I was a medic and the medical people were my team. So like, and I was so adamant about everyone going in, document what's happening because there's something going on.
Right.
So like my skin was erupted. I couldn't wear bras. I couldn't wear my underwear most of the time because I had hives all over. I got put on every antihistamine any stomach medicines to block the stomach histamines. Then antibiotics, Lamisil pills, just in case I had a fungal infection on my skin, which God. You're supposed to like get liver tests and checks while you're taking. And I took that willy-nilly just to get rid of these hives, and nothing worked. I think I ended up being on hydroxyzine, is it? For basically the whole, like, almost 9 months.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That must have been like emotional as well. You know?
Yes.
Because, like, as a woman, I mean, you're still military and you're badass, yes, but you're still a woman underneath there. And I can just not imagine, like, having your skin just erupted. Not only are you dealing with discomfort, but it's kind of emotional, psychological as well.
It absolutely. Because, like, I can't ever feel clean. I feel like my skin is crawling.
Oh my God, I cannot even imagine.
Just to not even have a name to it. Like, I can't, there's no reason for it, but it's, sorry, I just got a message. Very rude. So sorry.
You're all good.
Yeah. So the skin thing was terrible, and there's no name for it. I can't call it something. I don't have, an end to it. There's no like, oh, take this pill and it's going to go away. It's just like, right. We've everything at you and we don't know what's wrong with you. So just keep doing what you're doing. So sweating, being gross, being just completely uncomfortable all the time. And then another weird symptom, I started getting like really bad tightness in my neck and into my shoulder. And I mean, even right now, because at this point, like some of my symptoms are coming back pretty strong right now. Mm-hmm. Cause then that's what I call them now, is I can feel them separately. These are absolute real symptoms, and lots of people have these. I'm not the only person. Right. But I have all this tightness in my shoulder, into my head, and tingling into my hands. And, but what I said was, it felt like I was walking in like a PX, and it felt like I walked into an electric fence. My whole shoulder just kind of just felt like I'd gotten shot. And then down into my hand, I just stopped, and I was like, that's weird. And then I think I continued to have a few of those like jolts. Mm-hmm. And I kind of like physical therapy and whatever on the base.
It sounds like nerve damage of some sort.
I felt nerve damage like hit its point. Like that is when it was like, this is on you for life. I feel like that's when my nervous system had just stretched to capacity. Mm-hmm. The funny thing is, speaking about the treatment that I had gotten, I had recently had a couple months ago, Stellate Ganglion Block. When I got that, all this stuff, I felt it all kind of spark and go down.
Wow.
And only relief that I have had in a decade. So,
oh my God.
There's clearly nerve damage happening to us, whether it's because that's what PTSD is. PTSD is nerve damage, which causes fibromyalgia, mm-hmm. All these other chronic pains, your chronic fatigue syndromes, like that is what PTSD is. It is nerve damage. And now that I've felt what it feels like to not feel any of my pain anymore, mm-hmm. I can say that 100%. I don't care if I'm not a doctor. I don't care if I'm not a neuroscientist. I don't care if this isn't my field of study. PTSD is nerve damage. And we've been sold a very strange lie that we have a mental health problem and that we're broken. Mm-hmm. To me, that's just not the way it looks. And that's not the way other doctors performing this see it either. Right. But so I experienced all these symptoms right away. And not right away. Like
how long into your deployment did you start having them?
I think the skin stuff started after the first rocket attack that we had. Mm-hmm. I think that moment where I felt like, holy shit, I really die. Like,
okay, back it up. Tell me about that.
Oh, okay.
Rocket attack. Okay.
So when you're deployed and you are at war, and I know my boyfriend is always like, Lauren, stop over talking these things. He's like, these aren't normal. I'm like,
is he's not military?
Not at all.
That's why. So I'm prior military. I want to hear all about this.
So you have regular rocket attacks. The enemy's out there. They throw up some little rockets on a rail and shoot them at you, hoping that they're going to get someone. Most of the time, they just land around you. So it's enough to scare you, though. But to be in that kind of state, like you're sitting there like once a week, just say, and once a week, you get a rocket attack. So you're randomly waiting 24/7, hoping that some bomb doesn't come and blow you up. Mm-hmm. And you're told, oh no, we're not told, but we have to get over that. So your body's
suck it up,
but your brain is told to focus and be normal. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think that PTSD just happens. It is PTSD, like, is the conditioning of your body to war. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it can happen from smaller things. Like, you don't have to go to war to get PTSD.
No, you don't.
Exactly. And so for people that have gone to war, of course there should be something wrong with your body. You had to be conditioned to be in this situation. You will have symptoms, and you'll end up probably having some mental health problems or physical problems or aches and pain associated with this. What you experience has an effect.
It's trauma regardless. I mean, and there's so many different kinds of trauma, but it's pretty traumatizing to, for example, we did a fleet hospital training when I was in the Navy. And this is the closest I ever came to a wartime situation, which is not that close, but we were in the desert in Palm Springs, and they had, this was before deserts. This was before 9/11. Mm-hmm. It's after Desert Storm. And so what they did was they had us set up, the hospital, the MASH hospitals, whatever. And we had our jobs. But the entire time that we would be working, there were fake bombs being dropped, propaganda being spouted in foreign language the entire time, going back and forth between a foreign language and English, telling us all kinds of crazy stuff that was supposed to be from our enemy, right? And constantly they were doing little surprise attacks during this training. And it was, to prepare you for what was like a simulation, but it was stressful. It was very stressful. So I can imagine, like, I really was stressed from just the practicing of it. Being in the actual situation feels to me like it would be super, super traumatic. Like what you were saying of at random, just any time during the week, any day, you never know when these rockets could come off, and they might get someone, they might get no one, but you're on high alert because you can never let your guard down because you never know when that's going to happen. But yet you still have to do your job, and you have to be on point.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That is pretty traumatic.
You learn to be steady. You learn to do your job and not be affected by anything around you. Mm-hmm. And that is what you have. That's how we have to train soldiers. That is, or airmen, or what military. Right. That is our job. We sign up to be conditioned, mm-hmm. but we don't all sign up to be screwed up when we come home. Mm-hmm. And
we don't think about that aspect of it.
Not at all. And you think that, it's the weak people that get PTSD. It's the weak people that got shell shock. It's the weak people that have problems. No, it's not at all. It's some really, really strong motherfuckers that are dealing with some extremely bad nerve damage, most likely. Mm-hmm. There's actual treatments out there that are not the number one go-to right now. In psychology or at any of the VAs right now, due to studies that we have to wait on, unfortunately. But there's actual real treatments out there that are useful. I mean, cannabis clearly is helpful.
I agree with that.
100%. If you're having nightmares, for one, smoking pot helps you to not dream as much sometimes. So literally it can help stop your nightmares and help give you a good night's rest. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to have a hangover. You're not going to be unfunctional. You're not going to be unable to do all the same things you were able to do all day long, like if you needed to do.
And nowadays, the way the industry works for cannabis is it's kind of like a pharmacy. So you can, any symptom that you're having, you just go to your little cannabis pharmacist and they will explain to you what, how and what and when to take it, just a pill. And you can find a remedy for pretty much anything. And then the more your body acclimates to it, it's more, you feel better. You're completely highly functional, maybe even more functional than you were prior. It's just a really good alternative therapy to being polluted by the pharmaceutical industry.
Trazodone, Ambien, all these things that give you horribly bad hangovers in the morning. I don't like feeling like shit when I wake up. I want to wake up and be energetic. I'm also a morning person. I always have been. So the Army got lucky with me. I'll get up. I don't care. But these medicines completely make you a bump on a log. If something did happen in the middle of the night, do you think I would have ever been a successful adult trying to get through if there was a fire in the house or some type of an emergency? If I had Trazodone or Ambien, I would have been high out of my mind. And to me, that's just not safe versus smoking a little bit of dope. Oh, poor bad evil reefer man. I can't smoke that. Take this stuff that literally lays me out harder than I need to be. I just want a little bit of rest. The sleep meds and all that other poison that they're dishing at the VA is not, I know a lot of people mean well, but unfortunately they're wrong and they were misinformed. But we need to be able to admit that we are wrong. Great for sleep, great for lots of people with anxiety, CBD. I've done microdosing for depression and anxiety with mushrooms and psilocybin. That should honestly be the number one go-to for lots of people with depression. It's so little.
I can agree with that.
You can supplement with these two natural items until you can get a longer lasting treatment for yourself, those ketamine infusions that they're doing, or doing those MDMA trials that they're doing right now, or doing even though it's more clinical, I got the Stellate Ganglion Block, which is a shot of lidocaine in your neck. But before you can, for me, I get the shot and then I have to wait for a period of time. But between that period of time, my anxiety and my physical symptoms start going up. So I need natural remedies that are going to help me get to my next shot.
Right.
And these things need to work holistically together. And we need a VA and we need a medical community. And we need to be, voices ourselves for these alternative treatments that are clearly working, have been proven to work and have been used by indigenous peoples forever. So
I think a lot of it has to do with the science and with industry. So it has to do with the science is constantly changing and what we're told is constantly changing. And it also has to do with capitalism and it has to do with propaganda. So we are always being told different stuff and what's wrong. And then we get so conditioned, we've been so conditioned as a nation to believe that cannabis is wrong since the 1920s, that it's really hard. It's generations of people who've believed this propaganda. And also a lot of the pharmaceutical companies, they don't want to lose money. So you got to take all of these things into account when you're trying to decide how you're going to best treat your body. Doctors they're not meaning to most doctors are not meaning to harm anybody. They're doing their job. They're doing what they were taught to do. But here we have lots of new therapies that are being studied, that are being proven effective, but it's just not well known yet. And I encourage everyone always to go out there and do the research. The book by Michael Pollan on microdosing is a must read if you're suffering from depression or anxiety or PTSD and you are just at your wit's end. Go do the research, listen to these girls talk about, and KJ with the ketamine infusion and Lauren, these girls know what they're talking about. They've experienced it. Do the research on your own if you like, and then go try it. What do you have to lose?
Microdosing with psilocybin, with mushroom. It's literally like a tiny, tiny, tiny dose amount. You're not seeing the walls move. We're not seeing Gaia breathe. We're just getting enough that's like taking some St. John's wort.
Right.
That's what I generally call it. I'm like, oh, it's just St. John's wort. That's what I joke about. I think it's probably less toxic than St. John's wort. I mean, it's such a small, minimally toxic thing that can really, really, really help. And I think these things are going to save lives. Because
I agree.
what they're doing now can cause suicidal ideations in their own. I mean, it can.
It happened to me.
Like these medicines that they're giving us, like I say, they're making us. Sorry, hold on one moment. I have a dog. Sorry again. They probably hear me getting excited in here. And having a dog is also really important too. Oh, so sorry. Are you still there? Okay. But yeah, there's just so many alternative treatments out there. We need to be using them, and there's enough people out there to reach out and ask questions. Like I just tell anyone that I meet, like if you're interested in just knowledge about it, I've done it. I've been there, I've done it, and it's worked for me. And I feel safe enough to be able to coach you through helping you talk about this. Like if you want to just talk about these different therapies, just to get a firsthand experience. There's a lot of us out there, but someone like you putting this show out there for people to drop in and listen to. This alone is getting the word out there. The more
Absolutely.
we up, the more lives we will save. And
that's the point.
It makes a difference because it's all the people that I've tuned in and listened to, and I didn't just come here on my own. It took a lot of hippy dippy people out there to help me. But I've used cannabis again, like microdosing. I've also done lots of yoga. I've done, my friend, she's in the Air Force. She's a fellow veteran. Saban, she is a Reiki practitioner.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
She helped me a lot to just speak out loud the problems that I was feeling inside that I couldn't even put into words. Like it's embarrassing to talk about the things inside of my head. And going to her at her Reiki practice as she was building it and growing it, we got to just lean on each other as healers and as female veterans and queer women of color. And we talk about being examples too out there. Like we're not the normal face of a veteran,
right?
In mind. And I think that maybe having more women in the military is what PTSD needed. Like we're a lot more vocal about it. I think that the more we talk, I think we're saving lives.
I love that you said that. I really connect with that. I think that that's true because, it's the same thing with military sexual trauma. Like it happens to men too, but they're just not as vocal about it when it, something like this PTSD happening to women and there are more and more female veterans. I mean, it's just rising and rising and it's going to continue to rise. I remember in the late 90s, starting to talk the dialogue about fibromyalgia. It was very, very unheard of. And I was diagnosed with it very early in the fibromyalgia game and no one understood. And I found myself having to educate people, even my doctors sometimes, but I wouldn't shut up. And that's a gift, I think, of being, kind of a woman because we're like, hey, this is what's going on, more than the guys are.
When my symptoms got really bad recently, it was because I got pregnant. Which unfortunately is something that men cannot do. So for me, it skyrocketed everything in my body. I had suicidal ideations almost immediately. And it became a rolling marquee right here in the front of my head. And then my back and my neck just started getting stressed. And I started having more and more body aches and pains, which I will call that all fibromyalgia. because I used to look at fibromyalgia diagnoses, and I would like what doctors would do to me. I would just laugh at it. I was like, that's not a real thing.
You can't imagine how many times I've heard that.
It's psychosomatic. Well, psychosomatic is real. Like what happens in your environment and that you experience can have physical lasting damage done to your system. It is real. And it's just, so while I was pregnant, I started feeling all of that so bad. I was like, this is not what people talk about. Like, even when I'm hearing stories about other women that had like, I don't know, prepartum depression and stuff, like, and postpartum depression, like I had depression. That's different. That is not what I am feeling. My depression is completely separate from my PTSD and these other symptoms that I have in my body. And I think being pregnant helped me identify the differences. It helped me get so bold as to walk into a doctor's office with my baby on my hip. I cried and I demanded a treatment that I saw on a 60-minute interview. That someone sent a link and said, hey, I want you to go. They're like, look at this. This is really interesting. I read it and I broke down in tears. And then I watched a little video and I was like, holy shit, that's what's wrong with me. And that's it. I know that treatment's going to work because the way they're explaining it is literally along the line of all my pain. And so I went in, I acted like a psycho, and I told them I am fucking crazy. There's something wrong with me, but I know it's not my brain. It's like, I want to kill myself, but I want to be here for my baby. So you are going to fix me because no one else is going to raise my baby.
Right.
And there's being a mother made me even more strong than I could have known, because it took a lot of courage and a lot of strength to go in there like that, because then they tried to help me. But then of course they dropped the ball. And then I kept calling for a couple of days and that wasn't working. So then I came back in again. And then I went straight to the PTSD clinic. I freaked out there as well. I don't think that maybe everyone likes me over there, maybe because I knew that this treatment was going to help me, and I knew that it was a research treatment, so it wasn't offered everywhere. I knew it wasn't easy to find. And then they said, all right, go. I had to go to the urgent mental health clinic, which was right next to the women's clinic, which I think they had tried to make me go there, but I wouldn't have known what to do right. The PTSD clinic helped me and guided me in there. I went in and I told them what I needed. They got me hooked up with the PTSD clinic ended up getting me hooked up with the Stellate Ganglion Block team. And I got an injection like a month later on July 16th, of this year, which was the date of 10 years to the day of the first time that I lost people overseas. That was just what a date to have fallen on like the universe prepared this moment for me.
Wow.
It's so monumental. Like, how could it have been such a monumental date in my life? And on the 10 years anniversary, I get this injection. I come out of immediately. All my suicidal ideation was gone. I couldn't even think. I could not even imagine the words in my head. All the pain in my neck and in my neck into my my vertebrae back here. They all the way down by. I have all this stuff listed as disabilities on my in my VA rating, and everything that I've been feeling over all these years. My IBS, my nervous like tinges all over my body, the shocks and the radiculopathy and numbness all over, and the pain dissipated immediately.
Wow.
I didn't realize that I wasn't able to see very well, and I had kept going to the doctor and getting my eyes examined because I could see, but it would take me a while to focus. And so I got the shot, and immediately the lights in the room got brighter.
Oh my God.
Like, I want everyone to experience this. We all deserve this, and we deserve to get them regularly at pain management centers across America, because they are offered, they can be done in any pain management center across America. If we had United Care, or we'd be able to all get this, and we'd stop losing all of our veterans and other people, just people with PTSD, like whatever it is. This can work for people with PTSD, fibromyalgia, and lots of other like anxiety disorders, at least that I'm thinking a lot about. But this in conjunction with my cannabis treatment, and later when, you know, I'm not momming so hard, I'll have, you know, other alternative treatments that I'll be able to throw back in. Wasn't the stuff at the VA, aside from that stellate ganglion block, but that thing changed my life. I came out and I got to look at my kid without fear, and I had not looked at my child without being terrified.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
wow, that is such a powerful statement.
Like it like now it's just giving me chills. I mean, I'm scheduled for a new one. I'm going to be going to a civilian clinic. I'm just going to be paying for it out of pocket now. It's about $750 every few months or so. But to me, it's worth it. I'll do what I can to get to this treatment. It's out there. There's real relief. And as my friend had said the other day, like, we've been sold a lie. We don't have a mental health problem. We have a nervous system problem. We have nerve damage. That's all. We all have nerve damage, and there's a treatment out there, and it's lidocaine and a marcaine. 2 innocuous little things that just numb you up. All it does is shut the nerve down on the right side of your neck for about 24 hours. You wake up the next day, and you wake up without being exhausted.
Do you know how it actually works? Like, you said that it shuts the nerve down.
Something simple, like someone gets their ingrown toenail fixed. You go to the doctor, they hit a nerve with the lidocaine and marcaine, with basic numbing agent. They hit that nerve, and then they can operate and fix your little toe, and then you're off, you move, and then everything comes back. You know, you feel your feeling all over again. Right. And that's with this nerve. They shut it off, essentially, and then that nerve feeds into your amygdala. So it is constantly basically vibrating inside of your amygdala, causing you to have all these endorphins and this panic inside of your body 24/7. So if you shut it off for even 24 hours, you have long-term relief. It's temporary, but it is a much longer relief, feeling like yourself, because you are yourself. It just takes your amygdala back down, because right now, like, it's operating at like 10. It's just going to take it down to 0, and you're going to have regular anxiety until you get your next shot again. But like for me, the way I noticed it, I slowly started to feel everything building up. It's like a balloon that's filling up. So I know I only have so much in this balloon before my my symptoms start becoming more physical. Right. Like, I started having more stomach problems last week, but everything like starts firing off, and it's like I can feel that each system is firing off separately, coming back on. Right. You're coming back online. Yeah. So how? Well, the pain is coming back online is what it is. But like, how long does it last for? So it can last, I mean, depending, I guess, on your degree of damage, which, I mean, they're not doing MRIs or, scans to see how big your damage is. They're just going off word of mouth when you get this injection. But it's between like 1 to 2 or like 6 months. So just depending on your degree of damage, it could be like 2 months or it could be 6 months. But you just have to go in and get a shot versus take 20 pills from the VA that just make you feel really okay. And I swear to God, like, if everyone with PTSD is feeling the same way that I was feeling, I want all of you guys to feel the way I feel. It feels so much better. Even now with my physical symptoms, like firing back on again pretty hard, I know that they're real.
Right.
To be believed.
Right.
To, for someone to say, I believe you, and what is happening is real. I'm not just believing you, but I know for a fact, scientifically,
validating.
You are telling us something very normal and very real. But the problem is they've known about this for over a decade.
Right.
So, and that's out in the open. Anyone can go and read about this on Google. Like, it's not a hidden thing, but it's not pushed, and it's not provided, and it's not paid for by the VA unless you're in, or unless you're like in one of these research groups, or if I think that you can request referrals. It's just getting that referral at a VA can sometimes be.
We know how it is.
Yeah. We all know how this is. It's hell sometimes. It took me months just to get a chiropractic consult, which I had one throughout my entire pregnancy.
Right.
But I couldn't get the same thing after I had the baby.
Well, it's a broken system. We all know that it needs a massive overhaul. Like, we all know that.
Like, just have like platoons, give us like platoon sergeants. I don't know, do something in there, because whatever they're doing sucks. Like,
totally.
Take away the referral system. Let us choose our own care. If we're not going to hurt ourselves, let us request a referral, like a 24-hour turnaround referral system requested by us. Like, we don't need to waste our doctors' times, because a lot of us know a lot more about our own bodies than our doctors ever. Like, we're powered to all the doctors, and that's great, but I know my body. I've known her for almost 33 years now, and I know what I need. And I'm not coming here for your drugs. Like, I'm not a druggie. Like, I don't want to be high out of my mind.
Right.
That's what I think most people don't want. We don't want that.
We just want to function.
You're getting us addicted to crap.
All we want to do is lead the most optimum normal life possible.
Absolutely.
With as little pain as possible.
Yes, absolutely.
So I love this conversation so much. It is so important. And I think I want to point out the fact that you said anyone can go on Google and research this. It's been out there for like 10 years. And that's the case with a lot of alternative therapies. They are not pushed. They are not paid for. They're not easy to get funded for you by the government. Even your primary care physician is probably not going to push this onto you, or, maybe not even be on board, but they don't know your body like you do. And these options are out there for the willing that want to try. Like, if you're at your wit's end, I always say, what do you have to lose? If you have suicidal ideation, because living with chronic pain, honestly, is a motherfucker. Like, that pain is day in, day out. Like, after a while, it gets to be like, I just want this pain to end. Like, I don't, and both of us are mothers. Like, obviously, we don't want to do anything that would take us away from our children. But like you, when I was pregnant with my first son, all my illnesses got exacerbated. I had lots of depression. I was in more pain. Everything. And then after I had him, I went through like a depression. And what I did was I went into my doctor and I said, listen, I need to go on a very, very low dose of Zoloft. And this is what I need. And then I told her, and she was like, you're going to tell me like what you need? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you know what? I'm like, I was a hospital corpsman in the Navy. I am medically trained. I finished my career as a pharmacist, like in the military. And I was like, this is what I need. I know how it's going to work on my body. Now, that worked for a while, and I was able to get off it when my postpartum felt relieved. But the next phase was then me listening to doctors. I went through a period of listening to everybody and taking everything that they told me to take. And I ultimately felt bloated, sick, polluted, like just overweight, like unhealthy, completely fatigued. And I think the last thing that I took, I remember distinctly, I was like, I'm getting off of all of these medications. I'm not taking anything anymore. They prescribed me a pill that was going to, was supposed to help me. And I ended up, and usually it takes about, 2 weeks for a medication to really get into your system, unless it's injected. And within about 5 days, I was like, I'm going to put my head in the oven. Legitimately. That was exactly what I thought. I'm going to put my head in the oven. Sylvia Plath. I'm doing it. Like, it's happening. I was so I was so low, and I am a naturally optimistic person. Like, I am unnaturally optimistic, even when depressed. Okay. And, everyone is like taken aback by how happy I am most of the time. Right. And at this time, my family intervened and they were like, whatever it is you started taking, you need to stop taking it right now. You are not you. Good. And that was it. And I was like, what? And they're like, you are not you. And they actually were on suicide watch for me until that medicine got out of my system. And I love
that they felt strong enough to say that. Because a lot of times the people around you, it's hard for people to speak up. And I'm sorry, I had to plug my iPad in. My sister even told me, I could have charged it more. And I didn't. So I was like, honey, bring me my charger.
You're all good. We just rock and roll. We do what we have to do on this podcast. We're moms. We're, grandmas, some of us. We do what we have to do to help each other.
When I was on, I've taken lots of pills from the military, but I did take Wellbutrin, I think, to stop smoking and for something else. And immediately it made me just tank. My brain just became so extremely depressed immediately. I know when a medication is, I know what it feels like for a medication to work the exact opposite of what it claims. Right. And it was really, really scary.
I can imagine.
But I think actually maybe somehow by knowing that, I knew in my head at that moment, I need to get off this medicine. This isn't right. But when I started feeling those suicidal ideations when I was pregnant, I think that because I had kind of had a weird dip in tank before, just even taking some weird antidepressant before, I felt that feeling. I had felt what it felt like to dive down into the depths of somewhere I don't even like talking about in my brain. But I knew something was wrong. We know our bodies. We do. And I think some mental health medication, it can be there for emergency situations. But I don't like it. I don't like it for long-term care. Our brain is not supposed to be muted, and that's what it does. It turns us down, and it puts us even behind an even thicker veil than we already feel. Because the way I explain it, when I say the lights got better after I had that shot, you feel like you're behind. There's something in between you and everyone else, and it's I have to fight to talk through it, or I have to. Sometimes it's a weight of extreme anxiety, and that kind of stuff. Just it rules your life, and you'll do anything to come out of it. And I think the pharmaceutical industry is playing on our desperation to fill their pockets. And
I think so. I mean, preying on the sick.
And preying on the sick. It's not a secret that certain pharmaceutical companies have their little sticky fingers in the VA, and that the VA doctors are supposed to be prescribing certain things. How many people have been on gabapentin? And gabapentin is for nerve damage. They are giving it out because they know that it also helps for PTSD.
I've that for many years.
Yep, I have too. I've taken it for, and this is the thing, I've taken it for different reasons. I've taken it when I became a raging alcoholic. I've taken it for the back pain that I get. and like a lot of the other weird pains that don't make sense in my body, I take gabapentin for. But I don't want to be pushing gabapentin through my liver every day.
No.
Like, and you increase those doses. Like, it's not like you just stay at this plateau. Like, you're changing your body.
Right.
I don't want to chemically change my body. I'm a human being. I'm a part of this earth, and I will go back to this earth. And I don't want to go back to this earth polluted.
Right.
And I want to be a good example to my child of, like, I believe in first world medicine, but I also believe that first world medicine needs to also be intertwined with more naturopathic, more alternative medicines that we haven't been using before.
Right.
Now treatments are out there and they help and they work.
I agree. Well said. Like, I have to just say that, these alternative therapies, a lot of them are more natural, and I am the first person to champion science. Like, I think it's important. I think a good empirical study is very useful in determining what you're going to do to your body, or, what medications you're going to use or how to move forward. Like, I am all about research and studies and science, but there's also the science behind these alternative treatments.
Yes.
And it's not as well talked about. So, and the science, as we know, is always changing. Just like they're like, don't eat dairy. Then 5 years later, they're like, it's so important for you to eat dairy. So, like, it's the same kind of concept. It's like, okay, well, take your science and stay current with it and look at all the scientific evidence that is out there for you before you make your decision on how you're going to treat your body. Because chances are, if you're taking everything that you've been prescribed, like I was, and you're feeling sick and bloated and polluted, and I tell the doctor, I don't want to take these pills anymore. I just don't feel like myself. I don't feel well. They're not making me feel well. If that's how you're living your life day in and day out, then what do you have to lose? Even more so if you or a loved one is feeling suicidal, what do you have to lose? Like, it's almost, an immediate action that needs to take place to go and look up an alternative, because it will save a life. It will literally save a life.
Like I said, when I got that shot, I went from walking in there, and as they're giving it to me, I'm chanting in my head, because I literally chanted this in my head for like a year and a half. Because I want to kill myself. I want to kill myself. I want to kill myself. And that's what I think in the back of everything that I'm saying. And I don't want to think it. It's not like me making myself think this. It's
right. It's intrusive.
Yeah, it's popping into my head, and I'm trying to see if I feel it. So when I say the words, I try to think, do I actually feel like this? Not like I'm saying it because I want to kill myself, but I'm testing to see how much I feel like I want to kill myself today. But so as thought is happening, this is going in my head, and I'm feeling like I want to kill myself. And as soon as it hits, it's gone. Like I said, I couldn't even form the words in my head. Like, we have a physical problem, and we deserve a physical treatment, and we deserve natural treatments in between those treatments in conjunction with each other. They work together. We know this. We just need to, I guess, be more outspoken and keep talking about it.
Yeah, we have to keep the conversation going. We have to just let people know. I mean, especially it's important to me, to all of our veteran sisters out there, that we're a support system and we are a resource to help them live their best lives. And this is something that I'm really passionate about. And especially as more and more of us are suffering with PTSD from various different reasons, various different traumas from our service, we have to stick together and we have to help each other out. And honestly, I wouldn't say it if I didn't if I didn't really believe through my heart that it could save a life. For me, it's important for everyone to know that what's out there. So we have to keep talking about it. And like I said, I really appreciate you coming on here and being willing to share your story and give us all this information, because I'd never heard of this. When I saw it on Instagram and I was watching your videos, and you can You can follow her on Instagram. Tell everybody where to follow you at.
I have a Instagram account. It's Hippie and a Veteran on Instagram and on Facebook and on Twitter. I mean, I'm not that great on Twitter because I'm old, I guess. So
Me too, girl.
I don't know how I try to be relevant, but
That's a cesspool. Twitter is crazy.
Every now and then. I try and like give as, I mean, I'm pretty politically driven, I guess. But I'm also just trying to share as much of myself as possible. Like I'm going to be giving my updates every few months on my treatments and how they're going. And then be open about other treatments that are other alternative treatments that I've used before when my symptoms got really bad and I didn't have any other options. And just trying to be a good pool of resource for as many people as I can. I'm also doing, I photograph a lot. So I'm doing a little tiny exhibit. Actually, I forgot about this.
Tell me about it.
I was asked, like, are there things that you have going on? And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess. But I didn't even think this was a thing. But I'm going to be in a little art exhibit in Long Beach in California in November, at the beginning and the end of the month. I'll be down there, but it'll be up all month. But I'm doing my little part on PTSD. I did photos of myself telling my story, and then I'm going to do a few different photos now about what treatment feels like before, and I want to kind of map out where all my pain is. Because for other people with fibromyalgia, like you're going to understand these photos when you see them.
Totally. I can't wait.
It's a visual representation of the pain we go through, and then I want to show what it's like when these treatments take a hold and they work. Like I can live my life, be the mom I want to be, and be the partner I want, and be the friend that I want to be. Like I just want to be a good resource for others. I got the help, and we all need to get this help. It's out, and we deserve it.
So well said. So well said. Like I said, like the minute I saw you speaking on your video on Instagram, I just was like, I have to have her come and talk about this because it is important. And I just had KJ on, who's incredible. Shout out to KJ Becker. And I love you, girl. And she was just incredible. And it just, and actually she mentioned you also. And I just thought like, this is important. And every time I come across someone with a really interesting and helpful alternative therapy, I want to have them on, especially a veteran sister that we know firsthand, you know, we're experiencing this where this is our real lives, you know, it's not a joke. And we are out here trying to spread the word to everyone to save lives and to improve lives so we can all.
We're feeling these. I am not the only person feeling these things. You're not the only person feeling symptoms that you felt throughout the years. If you feel something, you're probably feeling something. Like your body's not lying to you. Psychosomatic is real. Like if anyone tells anybody that, like just tell them to stop. Because yes, your brain can make things up, but your brain is also attached to your nervous system, and your brain is attached to nerves in your body that rule underneath your skin. Your symptoms are real, and I believe you. So get out there and demand the care that you want. And if you're questioning what's out there, there's a lot of people that are coming on your podcast. And if anyone wants to reach out to me, please do. I have no problem answering any questions ever. I need to start making some more videos to put more information out there.
That's right. And as always, I will put description links I'll put links in the description of the episode box. So like everybody can find the information that they want. Just look in the description box and you'll see all the links I attach there that talk about places where to find information on these things so you can get started on your own research. So, wow, we have really just straight kicked it for this interview, which I loved so much. And I think, I should wrap it up soon, but I almost don't want to, but I'm going to wrap it up. So I have one last question for you. Yeah. And that is, we've talked about your military experience a bit, and then we went really far into the alternative therapies, which was the point. And you gave us so many wonderful insights, right? And so much good advice on caring for ourselves. But my last question is there anything else you would want to, any advice, tips, tricks, strategies that you would want to give to a veteran sister in the struggle?
You have the right to request care your way. You have the right to be a part of your treatment plan. And you have the right to demand that your VA provides you the correct care that every woman veteran and every veteran deserves out there. You don't need to be laughed at when you go to the VA, when someone tells you your pain isn't real or whatever you're feeling in your head isn't real. I believe you. You are believed. I think that's just the biggest thing I want to say to people is I believe you. Your pain is real. You're not making it up in your head. You're not crazy. And to me, you don't have, and if for any other people that get this shot that maybe listen to this, I need them to like raise their hands up and say, yep, she's right. You do not have a mental health problem. You have a nerve damage problem. And the mental health and the medical community has known about this treatment for over a decade now. It's provided in centers all over America. Right now, I'm staying in Kansas, spending time with some family, and there's one right around the corner from my mom's house. So there's a pain center here that I've already linked up with that I'm going to go and get my regular shots. I do have to pay out of pocket, but it's freaking worth it. And if you have other insurance outside of the VA, or you can request a referral from your VA, you can go to any other pain management center. I've looked in most states, and I've seen places that provide these stellate ganglion blocks all over. And there's some people that are specifically doing them for PTSD and chronic pain. And they're out there. And if you can't get it from the VA, crawl, walk, run, do whatever you can to get to these alternative therapies. They work, and they can save your life, and your testimony and your validation of these treatments will save other people's lives.
Beautifully said.
We're going to heal ourselves. Mm-hmm. That's just how it's going to go.
That's just awesome. Awesome advice. And if I can add to that, I would say, don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. We believe you. Yes. Believe yourself. Don't be ashamed. If you feel like something's not quite right, something's not quite right. There is no shame in seeking help. One of my previous guests, Susanna, shout out to Susanna, the badass motorcycle riding grandma, who is a total hero. She was so ashamed to realize that she had PTSD. It took her years to realize it and treat it, and I wish for her that she would have been able to process it sooner and sooner, because her life might have been a lot different. She might have had less struggles through life. So, absolutely. Just believe yourself and don't be ashamed feeling like there's a stigma or anything like that. Reach out and get that help that you need. Try some of these therapies, do the research on your own, and just live your best life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is, get your treatment, claim it.
That's right. That's right. Lauren, you are so rad.
Thank you so much for having me. I was so
You were scared. Oh, girl.
Baking. I was like, oh my gosh, like prepping for hours. I cleaned.
Oh my gosh, we're just straight kicking it.
But then it was really, really awesome and relaxing. So thanks for having me. Thank you for letting me tell my story to more people. It feels great to talk about it.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. I am so grateful to you, of course, for coming on, and we're going to keep in touch. Yeah. And I just think you're amazing. I'm so grateful that you shared this with everyone. And I'm so sorry that you were so nervous. We were just hanging out, girl. That's how we do it on the Female Veterans Podcast. We're just old girls telling stories. So, yeah. So thank you again. And with that, I am going to wrap this up. And I just want to say to everyone out there listening that I hope you found some benefit from this episode and that you will keep an open mind and try to research some of these therapies and give them a try and see if they help you for your own self. Like, make that determination for yourself. And as always, I appreciate you so very much. Thank you for listening. I love you guys, and I will talk to you next time.